So week 3, we have food freedom. So we're going to be able to educate you on where macros should be, where your environment, all that kind of thing. What the chicken or the egg, kind of what should come first, what should you focus on first, and hopefully also give you some inspiration and some insight on how to make these habits stick as well.
I think I said somewhere we've got 16 years experience, but it was actually 27 combined, Megan and I.
Yeah, it's a lot more than 16. Yeah.
Yeah, because
is it 16 just for you, and then 11 for 11 for me, 11 to 12? Yeah.
So without I suppose focusing on the years of experience, let's dive into, I suppose, where nutrition started and then how it's developed and why we put this together specifically. I started writing $50 meal plans on a piece of paper back in 2008. And it was a experience that I had only been taught through my own experience of getting a meal plan back in 2008, right? So when you look at fitness influencers, people who give diet plans out, most of it's just they're repeating what they've experienced in themselves, right? They've been handed a meal plan and then they get some interest because they're looking good now, and then they give that same meal plan across the table to somebody else. And whilst it works for some people, it doesn't work for a lot of people. And there are some horror stories when it comes to dropping calories so low and food shaming and all of those sorts of things. So the reason we put this together is we wanted to create a really simple framework for what you should focus on and when you should focus on it. Now, if you think of an iceberg with the tip, has anyone ever seen that photo of, like, it's the meme that goes around? This is the tip of the iceberg and this is everything else underneath. What everyone talks about is macros and calories, and that's above the waterline. Below the waterline, where the water's murky and it's very hard to see, where a lot of people are unaware, are things like how your environment affects your nutritional choices, how your relationships affect your nutritional choices, how your trauma in childhood affects your nutrition and your decisions with nutrition as well. So there's all this stuff, right? And when it comes to focusing on what has the biggest impact at the very beginning, it's important to lay down proper foundations and address that stuff that lies underneath, your environment, the people that are around you. And then when you do that, you start to build foundations that are strong, they're wide, and everything else that you build on top of it sticks. It's not like you go and do a 6-week shred and then all of a sudden you fall off the wagon for 6 months, you're MIA, and then you go and lose the same amount of weight, or you go and do the same amount of progress all over again every single year. So this is the nutrition hierarchy. We're going to go into more of that now. Actually, Megan's going to go into more of that now, starting with this gem right here.
Yeah. So awesome explanation. So basically with that, you could see underneath that the calories and the macros count right at the pointy end. And we need to fix what's underneath the surface first and set yourself up for success there. As you can see, this is the home. This is your environment. So you can see the where your food should actually be in. So you can see that the green is the kitchen. So where your food proximity. So food proximity rules, and whatever you eat, you will eat whatever is close by. So if you set your kitchen up or your environment up for success there to have good food readily available, then you're going to make those better choices. But if you're hiding food like in your bedroom, or you're taking food into your bedroom, or you can see that that's in the red zone. And then you've got the lounge room, which is like the yellow. So it's sort of that in between, that gray area. And as you can see here, the people that surround you heavily influence you as well. I work right beside my fridge. But you're not screwed, Kat, because if you, like I just said, if you set your kitchen up in your environment up for success, and you have good food readily available, then you're not screwed. You're actually going to make the right choices.
Yeah, exactly. And one other thing that I'll point out is when you've got, so this is a good example actually. If you've got ice cream in the freezer and it's a 4-liter container of Peter's ice cream, that's going to be pretty easy to eat, and easy to eat pretty regularly as well. If you have to go to somewhere like in West End, we've got Anita's, and you pay $6 a scoop, you're going to eat that less. And that accounts for any type of food that will easily take you off the rails. You know, people at home, I remember Mum, all she ever wanted was this bar at home with the Scotch bottles lined up, you know, and it only makes sense that if it's close by, you're going to have a lot of it. And if you can remove that proximity, make it more expensive, make it harder to get to, like that blue little icon out there, you're going to find that you're going to have it less often.
Yeah. And so I wanted to add as well a story of mine with environment as well. When I had my second baby and I was breastfeeding and I was super, super hungry, and you know, I would crave stuff because there was so much calories being, you know, basically sucked out of me. I would crave things, and the fact that I would have to put the kids in the car and have to drive, and it would have to get out of the car and get the ice cream, or get the drive through McDonald's or KFC or whatever it was that I was craving so much, because I hadn't had enough food in me. I couldn't be bothered to do that, and it made it too hard. So I had to actually just eat what was in front of me and what was close by. And lucky enough, I had set my environment up for success. Here's how to improve your environment. So when you will need to have conversations and express your good intentions to your loved ones that are around you, the people that you live with, your husband, your wives, your children. And I want you to just sort of ask yourself, how would you have that conversation, and how would you express those good intentions to your loved ones? Complete the kitchen makeover. So we actually have a video tutorial on how to complete that kitchen makeover and replace it with the better choices. Plan for the week ahead. So a big one that we do here is a family meeting, and it is a massive game changer. We sit down once a week. So we have chosen Sunday afternoon, because that's what works best for us. You can choose what works best for you and your household, and you sit around and you connect, you give each other compliments, and then you sort out your calendar, who is where, and organize the week. But you also open up the conversation of what would we like to eat for the week. And when you're planning and you've got recipes, then you can actually plan for the week of your shopping. Then you can chop it up, you can cook it up, and never go into the kitchen to cook just one meal. So if you're ever in the kitchen and you've chopped up and you're cooking something, make leftovers, double or triple the recipe. Also have something else on, maybe in the oven or on the fry pan. Never go into the kitchen to cook one meal. So that's a massive hack that I would let you in on in improving that environment. Order online. So meal kits and prepaid meals, they're all really good. Like I find the Woolworths, oh god, I can't even think of the name now, where the direct to boot. So I do that every week, and that literally takes half of my shopping, and then I only do half of the shopping in person, so that saves a lot of time as well, and it also preps me for the week because I know what I'm going to have. And also just to remind you that this is a process. So even though we're banging on about improving your environment, we don't mean to just go and complete all of this list. It's going to be a process. So what can you do this week to maybe you could plan the week ahead, sit down and have a conversation with your loved ones and say, hey, I really want to get us more organized and making more right choices. So I'm going to set our kitchen up. I'm going to plan the recipes, plan the meals, do the shop, and prepare more than just one meal when I go in to the kitchen to do dinner.
And really just getting into the deeper reason, like straight away. If I came to you and I said, hey, if I was in my 50s and I was 20 kilos overweight, and I said to you, babe, I'm really scared for my quality of life in the next 10 years. Or if we were early 30s, late 20s, and back when kids weren't sleeping and it's like all stressful, we just feel like having chocolate in bed after a crazy day. Like if I'd come to you and vice versa and said, you know what, we need to find better ways of dealing with stress. I think having those really raw conversations, they just cut through all the noise. And get straight to the point. It's not like, hey, mum's on a new diet, or hey, my husband or wife is on a new diet, or whoever it is. Because that's a big problem too, is that most people around you don't take you seriously enough in the early stages to make these changes. They need proof.
Exactly, especially if it has been a bit of a pattern for you that you have tried things in the past. So that's why that is a number one, to have a conversation and express those good intentions. And like you said, Pete, express the reasons why, the deep-seated reasons why you want to make this change and you want to make it permanent for you and your loved ones.
And if you don't have people around you, and
have a word with yourself.
You have a word with yourself, 100%. Put it in your calendar.
That's saying, yeah. Have a good word with yourself.
Yeah.
Show yourself what your intentions are.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and put it in your calendar. Every week, sit down, have your meeting with yourself, and what are you going to do for the week ahead to make sure you stay on track? The first step is
so I just wanted to say, Tammy said that she literally put her family meeting in the calendar tonight.
Awesome, beautiful. So, how do you get into a good rhythm, and why? We've improved the environment. We've removed stuff in the space of a vacuum. Basic physics will always tell us that something will fill the void. So you remove the snacks from the house, and you don't replace it with something equally delicious, more nutritious. You're going to find that the snacks will just come back. Okay,
that's the important thing.
Yeah, so getting into a rhythm is really important. A rhythm that replaces what you've removed, but replaces it in a way that makes the food something you actually want to eat.
Exciting. You look forward to.
The first part to this whole process is thinking of food as this conveyor belt. How do you get it from wherever it is to in your mouth? We're having a chat today, Megan and I, about how easy it is to order something like Uber Eats, run downstairs, because we live in an apartment block, run downstairs, grab the fast food and run back upstairs and get back to work. That's making food that is highly palatable, high in energy, and very unhealthy really easily accessible. And so that's what you're combating yourself against. You need to make food so delicious that ordering Uber is a pain in the ass. And it needs to be so cheap to make this delicious food that ordering Uber doesn't make sense. And it needs to be so easily accessible that you just never really ever need to think about getting food elsewhere. So here are some questions to run through. Did you want to say something before I run through this?
That was the point in the story that I was talking about when I was breastfeeding and stuff. Like, it's because that was such a pain in the ass to actually go down the shops and do that when I had just had food readily available right there in front of me. And once I ate that food, I felt satisfied and I felt like I'd made the right decision and I didn't regret it. Yeah, that's exactly the point.
Funny story. Tell them about having physique on the back of the truck.
So that was a similar issue. When I was pregnant with Lokes, I was craving like the fried chicken. So strange. I had the craving for the fried chicken, but because we had a ute with our business on the back of it, and you know, a pair like it was a guy and a girl with abs, and then it had physique, and that was our business, and it was a small town, so everybody knew our truck. And so I just couldn't bring myself to, because you know, I am a big role model, and that's how I see myself as well, is I couldn't bring myself to go through the drive through of KFC with my business name on the back. So I made my own kind of KFC. So I got the seasoning, and you know, the inspo from in our cookbook, we've got the chicken bites, the chicken schnitzel bites. So that inspo came from that, when I was like, okay, well, I'll just make my own. And I bought the chicken wings, and I bought the chicken drumsticks, and I bought the seasoning, and we just made it in the oven. And I also craved I craved hot chips. I loved chips, so we would make them crispy in the oven as well, to satisfy that. So I never felt, I didn't then need to go through the KFC drive-through.
So morals to the story, if you need a business decal on your car, we will pay for it to go on your car. Just let us know, and it'll stop you going through the drive-through. Okay, so there's a conveyor belt. Food comes into this conveyor belt. There's some kind of, you need to purchase food. But we're not hunting, gathering anymore. We're purchasing food. So how do you purchase food? Do you go in store? Do you do it online? Do you buy meal kits? Are you buying prepackaged meals? This can be a combination of all four. As you go along in your journey, you'll do more of the shopping for yourself and cooking yourself, and less of the prepackaged food and the meal kits, because it just gets so expensive because you're eating so much food. And the control level goes when you delegate. So that's something to keep in mind as well. If you're paying someone to cook your food, whether that's a muscle meal or going out for dinner, you don't really know what's going in it exactly. So how will you shop? Make your choice. And how can you make that step quicker and easier? I'll talk more about the goals of this later. But we're always thinking with, like, how can I make this quicker and easier? When will you chop? How will you chop? How can you make this step quicker and easier? These are things that you should probably be writing down. So I won't go too fast, but have a think about it. Ask these questions. There's a really famous quote. I don't know who said it, but the quality of your life is basically dictated by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. So these are really good questions to ask if you want to improve your health. When will you cook, and how will you cook? Are you going to cook every night? Are you going to cook every second night? Are you going to cook in bulk? Are you going to do one big prep and one small prep? Are you just not going to prep at all and just cook as you go? These are all different ways of doing things, and none of it is right or wrong. It's just having structure there, because then you can measure it. If 1 week you're shopping 5 times and getting, $50 shops from Woolworths, and then other weeks you're stressed as hell and you're not going to Woolworths, you're getting an Uber, and then week by week it changes from one thing to the next. You can't measure any of that. And this is the problem that you run into when you try and track macros, is that, hey, you've got this macro goal, and in our experience, what happens is your rhythm goes to shit, and then all of a sudden you've got 100 grams worth of carbs there. And if you've got 100 grams worth of carbs for the rest of the day, are you going to choose the 3 cups of broccoli or the donut to fill in the rest of the carbs? You're probably going to choose the donut. That's where macros can really cause some issues, is you're not in a good rhythm and you can't track it, you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So the goal of getting into this rhythm is to, shop less frequently, shop online if you can, and make this whole step easier, right? Chop less frequently. Here are some really good ways of chopping less frequently, using good containers. If you have a good container, the fruit and the veg that you chop could probably last about 4 days before it starts to get that vinegary taste. Buy pre-chops, frozen if budget permits. A good sealed fridge, not leaving your fruit and veggies on the countertop for too long in a hot kitchen or a hot day. Those are really good ways of just getting more out of your freshly chopped stuff. And then to cook less frequently, use your meal size containers and cook up in advance. Think about types of foods, and we've done this for you. We'll get to that in a second. But what types of foods are easy to reheat, still taste good reheated? I can't stand steak reheated, so I'll never cook steak in advance, cook it fresh. But a cottage pie, like Megan's cooked today for us, man, I'll reheat that every day and I'll eat that and I'll love it.
Oh yeah, and you can freeze that too.
Yeah.
Like, whereas you can't freeze the steak, or you can't freeze like other things that just wouldn't be frozen. So the question is, what do I eat then? So the worst thing that you could possibly do is like hear off somebody, oh, you're supposed to eat 5 meals a day when you're only eating, 2 or 3 main meals a day, or you're eating, you're skipping breakfast and you're only really having like something for lunch, and then you might have a snack, or you might engorge in the afternoon and then have some dinner. So what you need to do is look at what you are currently doing and improve those meals first. So if your main meal is just is dinner, then look at how can you improve that dinner? Could you incorporate a first class protein on a regular basis? Could you add more plant food to it? Are you missing omega-3 fats? This kind of thing. So if you're snacking, it means that you're not eating enough in your main meals. So like I just said before, I've worked with many mums, and a lot of them, they skip breakfast, and then they might have a bit of lunch, and then they might not have anything in the afternoon, nothing's prepared, and then before dinner even starts, they're so hungry because they've worked all day or they've looked after the kids all day, and then they just engorge in the afternoon. And they end up snacking on the wrong types of things, and then that just is telling me that they haven't prepared and they're not eating enough first class protein in their main meals. And so that's where I would be looking at improving first. So picking recipes, we've got the recipes there for you to give you ideas, to give you inspo. So you've got the Fit Fam cookbook. That link is in your welcome pack.
We're going to show you now some examples of the food that is in that cookbook, and we've had clients that just ate from the cookbook and lost 10 kilos. Like,
yeah,
if losing weight was that easy, why wouldn't you do it without even worrying about that top level stuff? So yeah, and then we'll leave the proteins, carbs, and fats for another presentation. So let's dive into now some delicious food.
So yeah, these are some examples from our Fit Fam cookbook. And I mean, it can be simple, easy, fast, delicious, nutritious foods. It doesn't have to be bland and boring. Like you can see our amazing pancakes. These are such a hit with the girls, and they even asked for them for birthday pancakes. And then this smoothie here is my absolute go-to every afternoon right now. And it literally, timed myself. It literally takes me 3 minutes to make.
Yeah, and those pancakes are the same, about 5 minutes to cook. Yep. Super
Cherry
easy.
ripe shake is my fave. Same, Tammy.
And if you look at the meal as well, you've got first class protein with the egg. You've got some plant food there with your berries and banana, and there's some good fats in there as well. So they've got everything that you need in them without even having to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is your quick go-to curry in a hurry. So we've made it 2 ways because the girls don't like it as spicy as we do. So if we like a more spicy version, but you literally can make it all at once, you just take the one that's not as spicy out and then and add in the spiciness afterwards. But this is a good freezing one as well. So you can have half in the freezer and half in the fridge. And then when you run out, which you will, and people in your household will also eat it as well, you can then just simply take it out of the freezer, and then you've got the next half of the week.
Yeah, that's the cheeky chicken casserole there on the right. Woolies chicken and shredded up.
Yeah, we're all about efficiency and how can we make this quicker and easier and tastier. This is the eggplant lasagna, isn't it? This is one of your recipes that you've taught me. And then we've got the oh, this is the like the bolognese stew kind of thing as well. The
This is a chili con carne.
oh, that's the chili con carne. Okay.
Yeah.
And even with the eggplant lasagna, like you don't have to, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, I know that there are some that are doing this workshop. You can use beans, a beans mix instead of the meat. Same as with the meat. If you don't like the meat of choice in these recipes, please swap them out. If you're not a meat eater, swap it out for something else.
Yeah, you raise a good point. When it comes to vegetarian and vegan eating, it requires a little bit of creativity, but it's not impossible.
It's still the same principles.
Same principles. Take the meat out. You'll need a bigger meal now because you're taking the meat out. But you can definitely use things like tofu. You can use, I think it's called corn, QURON or something like that. If you are vegan and you are watching this, just reach out to one of us and we'll be able to help you just tailor the recipes to suit you better.
Yeah, but now that both of these are other like really great meals that you can freeze as well, half in the fridge, half in the freezer, and then you can mix it up and you've got variety. These are just some, these ones are the ones that you can freeze and they last a good while as well. And you can and mix it up. So you've got some really easy salads here that'll tickle your taste buds.
Yeah. Cool.
And desserts. Yeah, so you don't have to miss out on dessert. If you are a nighttime like, after dinner feeling like something sweet, then go for it. These are in the cookbook as well. Really simple, really easy to make. Yeah, and we guarantee have this like every night.
Yeah. Cool.
So food freedom is, so this isn't me just over here pigging out. This is loving the food that you make, loving the foods that make you healthier and eating them every day. So like we've talked about today, putting lots of love and flavor and into your everyday foods. So then you're not craving going out and eating so much. So you want to be able to create that for yourself. So then when you do go out, it is worthwhile. It's something that you wouldn't normally make for yourself, and that it's an experience or it's a special occasion. And you can see here, I would never make those fluffy pancakes with the fairy floss on top. So I wanted to try that. The other dish there is it's like I think it had like a Mediterranean or some or dukkha and all that kind of stuff that I wouldn't normally fiddle and fart ass around with at home. It's not my jam. I like to get into the kitchen and I like to batch cook and get it all done over and done with. So that makes my day more efficient. And then when I choose to go out, I like to choose to go out with things that I wouldn't normally make for myself. So eating delicious food doesn't make you healthier on special occasions, like we just talked about, making it worthwhile and detaching that guilt feeling and feeling rewarded in a variety of ways from the food that you eat. So like when you do go out, if it's less often and it's got the 3 or 4 tick systems that it's a special occasion, it's an experience and you've eaten really well and you fueled your body, then you don't have that guilt attached to it. So that's what we wanted to basically finish off on. We're going to talk about next week. So how woohoo rituals will powerfully balance your hormones and your metabolism. So I shared on Instagram the other day, Gabor Mate, he is an amazing family psychologist and he really, really knows his stuff. We're reading a book, Hold On to Your Kids. He has some really insightful words and you just are captured by what he says with the truth and the accuracy. So the one that I shared the other day was about how women have the highest percentage of getting autoimmune diseases. So that means the unexplainable, where your body starts to attack itself, chronic fatigue, and rheumatoid arthritis, the fibromyalgia,
Lyme disease,
all these are like really
PCOS.
PCOS, it inflames your body, right?
Yeah.
And that's because we are always focused on taking care of other people and not taking care of ourselves. And even if we are taking care of ourselves through exercise and through nutrition, sometimes that's not enough. Well, a lot, because Gabor Mate is actually talking about it. For me, I thought it was sometimes, and I thought I was a very small percentage. But the more I find out, there's a lot of women out there like me that have suffered as well. I suffered with chronic fatigue, and sometimes thinking just exercising and watching what you eat is what's going to maintain you being healthy or get you healthy isn't always the answer. And I had to really focus on these woohoo rituals and create my own rituals amongst or combining with the nutrition and the exercise to balance my hormones and to balance my metabolism as well, and be like a whole healthy woman.
Yeah. So we'll go into that next week.
Yeah, so we're going to go into that next week and how that actually profoundly changed my whole body, my hormones and my metabolism.